Next up, totally optional, like most of this section just has to do with committing. I'm going to show you how to make a commit using a GUI, like Git Kraken. And even if you're not interested in using a GUI, I still think it's worth checking out because these GUIs can help show you your commits. They help you visualize things, but also it's nice to know that there are different ways of interacting with Git. And at the end of the day, we're still just working with that .git folder. It's just a different interface, a different way of interacting with it. So I'm using Git Kraken. I had a whole video on this early on where I talked about how to install it. It's very simple. You download it for free, and that's kind of it. And I'm just going to open up this repo that we've been working in, My First Novel. So if you have any repo you've created by now, whether it's from an exercise or you're following along, you have your own novel, whatever it is, we can open it with Git Kraken. So here's Git Kraken. I'm going to go to open a new repository. So if you open it up for the first time, it will probably look like this. It will ask you to open a repository. And then here is that folder I navigated to. I'm sorry, I can't zoom in easily, but I just found my repository. So that same folder, My First Novel. And I'm going to open it. And there we are. We see my commit history right here. So right now we're just visualizing the commits. This is basically what we see with a Git log. Unfortunately, it's not letting me zoom in much more either, but I hope you can see that. So we have our first one, start work on outline and main characters, all the way up to remove extra blank lines in chapter 2. But what I want to show you is how we make a new commit. So right now, our working tree is clean. I haven't made any changes. At this point, I haven't diverged from what Git has committed, as you can see. But let's make some changes. What should we do? I'm going to add some more to the characters file. So I just added some information about Myrtle Wilson. And here's some more information about George Wilson, 2 characters in The Great Gatsby that come up in chapter 2. All right, so I'm going to save that. And I'll also, how about I add something to our mood board? So I have these images in here. Let's add another image. Okay, so I downloaded 2 more images, one of alcohol and one of a billboard, thematically related in some way to The Great Gatsby. They're part of my mood board, and both also licensed for me to use. So I'm going to add those both into this mood board folder. Okay, so I've made a couple of changes, and obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, but hopefully you're aware that I could check to see my status by using git status, and I would see that we modified characters.txt and that there are 2 new files in mood board, which are not being tracked. But this video is about using the GUI. If we take a look at the GUI, I get this message that says 3 file changes in working directory. So I can click here to view those file changes, or I can just click here where it says work in progress. And I wish I could make this larger, but what we see is unstaged files, characters.txt, and then moodboard bar and moodboard billboard, the 2 images. And you'll see that there's a little icon here with a pencil. That means I modified or edited that file. And here, this little plus sign means it's a new file. So I want to make a commit first. How about just with the characters changes? So I want to stage characters. So I'm going to click stage. Okay. So at this point, I have staged that 1 file. And actually, if I type git status over here, what do we see? Changes to be committed, characters.txt. So it was the same exact thing as me typing git add characters, but instead I clicked stage. And then I'm going to make my commit. So this first commit is just characters. So I add my commit message right there, or I can type it over here. And my message will be something like add Wilson's to characters list. Okay? Or, yeah, that's fine. Add the Wilsons, maybe the Wilsons. So I added 2 of them. All right. And then I'll commit changes to that 1 file. And we see a new commit here. Add the Wilsons to character list. And if I type git status, we now made a commit. We don't have this characters.txt staged anymore. And if I type git log, there it is. Add the Wilsons to characters list. So let's do a second commit now with the mood board changes. So I'm going to stage that new bar image and the billboard image. And then I group them together by staging them, and I'll make my commit, I don't know, add more, or how about expand, add 2 images, to mood board, or something like that. Nothing amazing, but here's where I write that commit message, and here's where I commit. Before I do that, what do you expect me to see when I type get status? This is what we typed, or what we saw before, 2 untracked files, but now they're both going to be committed. They are both staged because I clicked the stage button. So same process, just a different interface. I made changes. Then I click to stage and I click to commit, or I use get add to stage and get commit to commit. Alrighty, so I'm going to click commit changes to 2 files. And there we are. We have a new commit show up. And if I do git log, let's do our 1 line. There it is. Add 2 images to mood board, add the Wilsons to character list. So that's just a quick intro to using a tool like GetKraken. Of course, the interface changes if you're using a different app like SourceTree or what else is there? Tower? Get Tower? There's a couple of them. I can't remember. They all are similar, though. You click to stage, and then you click to commit. You type a message in. And this is just a nice educational tool, honestly, especially when we get to branching and merging. The diagrams over here are really helpful. But at this point, it's just another way of doing what we already know how to do.